the last thing I want to talk about UI is sprites. So I have brought in a sprite file here, and basically all it is just a PNG. It has these two images on it, and the PNG has a clear background, so this is important. Having a see-through background with the only kind of stuff in it is the sprite images. And I have dragged and dropped it into my assets folder. Now you'll notice that, so sprites can just have one image in them, and that works too, but I want to make a button that is using my sprites. So what we want to do is, if you have more than one sprite, you will need to tell Unity that there's more than one thing on here. So first, click on the image file that you brought into your assets folder, and in its settings, you're gonna, the texture type, you're going to set to sprite. And then if you just have one sprite, single mode is good, but we have multiple, so I'm gonna say multiple here. I'm gonna say apply, and then I'm gonna open up my sprite editor so that I can cut it up. If you got the same error as me that your sprite editor needed to be installed, the way that you do that is by going to Window, Package Manager, and then wait a sec for it to load everything because there's a lot of stuff. But right up at the top is 2D Sprite, and then you just click the install button. I've already installed it, so you would just click that button and then you're good to go. So you can close this, and then we can open up the sprite editor. And basically what this is showing us is that we have, here are our images, and we want to basically slice this into two different sprites. And we can use, here's the slice menu, we can use automatic as long as our sprites are not touching each other, so as long as there's the pixels of one sprite are not touching the pixels of another sprite. So we can just click slice, and then we can see that if we click, we have 1 and 2. And you can really kind of see this little button here. So this is showing us the color. If I click on this, it'll switch to showing us the alpha. So white is where there is pixels and black is where there's not. So I can really easily see the little outlines. And so one thing I might want to do is name this one button and this one button pressed, so that I know which one is which when I'm just looking at it in a list. And then we can just click apply, close that, and then what you'll see is if you click this little arrow, you'll see that we actually have two sprites here. So if I want to make a just a regular sprite that isn't a button or anything and put it into my scene, what I can do is create a UI image, and this will make just a stand-in kind of white box for us. And you'll notice that on the image script, the source image, the sprite is set to none. So what I can do is I can take our button and drag and drop it on. You'll notice it's a little squashed, but that's okay. We can fix that by changing the width and the height to 271 by 113. So I can go in here, 271 by 113. And then if I want to shrink it down at all, I can just click it and use the scale tool. So I'm setting the scale to be a little smaller. Now, so this is just an image. It's just going to sit there on the screen and just be a picture. On a normal button, if we want it to kind of alter the colors that it's changing as we are interacting with it, I've already played around with this one a little bit, but you can't click and change what the highlighted color is. So this is the color it changes when you mouse over it, and then the pressed color is the color that's when you press it. So maybe like a pink, it'll be a very exciting button. Okay, and so if I hit play here, you'll notice if I mouse over it, it turns blue, and then if I press it, it turns pink, and then it does its button thing. This is just a picture still. If I want to make this into a button so that it can show this sprite when I click on it, what I can do is I can literally just add a button component to it. So I can search for button, find it here. Now the normal mode is that color tint, but we can change it to be sprite swap instead. So the target graphic is that first button image that we put on, but the pressed sprite, I can drag and drop this in there. This button is not going to do anything if I click on it, and I have nothing here, but we can kind of see what it'll look like. I can hit play, and then now if I click this button, it's going to look like I've pressed the button. Very exciting. So now I can do things like add an on-click event and make this button do stuff and blah, blah, blah. But that's basically how you would set up kind of a custom sprite button. And that's it.